Welcome back to the V.O.C. YouTube channel. It is week 7 of college football. This week I'm going to talk about, quickly go through last week's games. Going to kind of get my grievance out of Notre Dame under Marcus Freeman midway through year 2 and what I think and the problems they kind of have, and then this week's picks. Let's jump into it.
Third down
Looking back on last week, Oklahoma beats Texas. I think they're very close, very similar teams. I think they're going to play again. Texas had chances to win. Oklahoma had chances to blow them out. It was very sloppy for a lot of the game. Like I said, I think they're going to play again in the Big 12 championship game, and I think Texas will beat them then. Ohio State back, question mark. That's, they kind of, for the first time this year, they finally looked like an Ohio State team we expected them to be. You beat Notre Dame on the last second play. Then you get a bye week. Then you play a very good Maryland team that has a good offense, decent defense, back at home, and you kind of destroy them. We're starting to get the mold of the Ohio State team, I believe. I don't think they're as good as Michigan, but they are starting to look like what we think and what we thought they would look like. Brian Kelly will be Brian Kelly. He struggles. It feels like everything he does down there is a pain at LSU. He has a very good football team, blames it on transfers, but it's like, look, you have one of the best quarterbacks you've probably ever had in your coaching career. You struggle. You sit at the podium red-faced, screaming, yelling. It can't be fun. It doesn't look fun. Question is, how long will that last? Georgia's just reloaded at the end of the day. They haven't done anything, but they've just reloaded. And that's what's very interesting to see is how, with winning back-to-back national titles, with Stetson Bennett, with the talent that they've had leave there, they're still a very good football team. They played a very good Kentucky team. Granted, they were at home, but they dominated them, destroyed them up and down the field. Brock Bowers is a very good football player. Carson Beck looks like he can do things in big moments, which is very big, and it's just a testament to what Kirby Smart has built there and how they're truly not as great as they have been, but they're still a very good football team year after year. And then look, Michigan continues to dominate, but Make-A-Wish teams. But they're doing what they're supposed to, just playing teams that aren't very good. The South Christian, Texas A&M, Redback, State College, Penitentiary teams. That's who they're playing, but they're dominating them, but they're playing Make-A-Wish teams with, it's like, oh, we're just grateful to be on the field, and it's just not very good, but they are dominating them games. All right, moving on to Notre Dame. Look, they are now 5-2 on the year. They lose an Ohio State game they shouldn't have. They beat Duke when they probably shouldn't have. They lose to Louisville when they should have because they played like absolute trash. Look, Louisville made Notre Dame look like they didn't know how to play football. There was no energy from top down. Marcus Freeman looked like Brian Kelly on the sideline. There was no emotion. And when there was emotion, it's when they had a penalty or something, he'd get pissed. Or they'd do something bad and he'd get pissed. Usually he's not like that. Usually he's clapping the hands, rah-rahing the guys, telling them next play, like, let's keep going. It's just there was no energy from him from the start to the finish. He looked like he was doing everything. He was going through the motions. He just looked like he wasn't there. Sam Hartman folds in the big time moments. He's very talented of a quarterback, can make throws that are very good. But against Louisville the last 2 years, he's folded. He had 5 total turnovers in the game. He looked awful. First drive, interception. Now, it's not all him, because I feel like he gets in these situations where he feels like he has to force it, and then it's not very good. I don't think Jared Parker's a very good offensive coordinator. I don't think he's very creative. He doesn't know how to get people involved. They have 2 really good tight ends, in Mitchell Evans and Holden Stays, who you could really put the offense around. We've seen that with Evans against Duke, and they just didn't start throwing to him until the second half. I just don't understand kind of the philosophy, but Sam Hartman, though, in these big moments, folds. He hasn't been in a lot of big moments. He doesn't understand these big moments because he hasn't dealt with them or played in them. And when he gets in, he doesn't look very good. At the end of the day, they still haven't got over the Ohio State loss. That's the biggest problem. It is You have a game where you should have won. But now you got to move on. You beat Duke. It's like, okay, you beat Duke. Good. Now you move on to Louisville, who's another top 25 team on the road, night game, and you struggle. You look awful. It's just, it's hard to see. I expect them to be 8-4, most likely to finish the year. I thought they'd be 9-3, possibly have a chance to win 10 games depending on the bowl game. But I look for them to be 8-4 like they were last year. It's just a struggle. But next year will be the tall tale. And it's tough to be like, I'm on to next year, kind of. I'm still invested in the team. I still want to see where this team goes. But I'm mostly on to next year. When you look at great coaches in Notre Dame history, usually you win the national title in your third year. Lou Holtz did it. Era Precision did it. Frank Leahy did it. And Brian Kelly made it to the national title in his third year. Didn't win it, got destroyed, but he made it. And he ended up being the all-time winningest coach in Notre Dame. So, if you're Marcus Freeman, you have to build this team, build this program with your recruiting, with your philosophy. And then you get in that third year. If you have a great third year, you look at it and you go, he knows what he's doing. So that would be the tall tale. So like I said, time will tell. This team has talent. That's what the problem is. This is going to be one of the more talented teams I feel like he has, just based on Sam Hartman talent-wise is very good. Moments clearly doesn't have that. That's why I talk about Carson Beck. It feels like he can do it in moments. Sam Hartman's one of those guys, he has talent, but in the big moments he kind of folds. But I'm also tired of the excuses from Marcus Freeman of like, oh, I'm a young coach, I didn't know, I don't know, didn't understand. It's like, I'm tired of those, right? It's like, you're in your second year, your second full year. You are a coach. You know what you want to be as a coach. Go with your gut. Go with what you believe in. And you got to kind of learn on the fly. You kind of got to adjust a little bit. You have to surround yourself and be up for par when these big moments come, and you have to capitalize on your ability and your team. I mean, they're far more talented than Louisville. They just got out-coached and outplayed and out-energized. I believe if they would have lost Duke, they would have beat Louisville, but they beat Duke, so then they lose to Louisville. It doesn't shock me. That's kind of how football is most days. But the biggest problem is they have to get over the hurdle of you lost to Ohio State in the last play of the game. Boo frickin' who. You got to move on now. You had a chance to play in the playoff because you had the best loss in the country. Now you don't have that anymore. So now you have to move on. Now you have to play a really good USC team. Another night game, another top ranked team before your bye week. So we'll see. All right. On to picks this week. I was 5-2 last week. First game is number 10 USC, 6-0 at number 21 Notre Dame. Notre Dame's 5-2. Notre Dame's favored 2.5. I don't understand this line. I think USC wins it. When you have a guy like Caleb Williams on your team like USC, that's all it needs. The weather's not going to be the best, but when you have Caleb Williams, he defines gravity, he defines weather. He is just that good, that supreme. I seen what Notre Dame did to him last year with Isaiah V.O.C. and a little bit better of a defensive line, and he still dominated. Notre Dame's defensive line isn't as close to as good as it was last year. USC. This is easily the game of the week. Number 8, Oregon, 5-0 at number 7, Washington, 5-0. Washington's 3-point favorite. This one's tough because I really like Michael Penix and what Washington is doing, but I think Oregon's a little bit more physical than them. I don't fully trust Bo Nix, but ever since he got to Oregon, he's a different quarterback. So I'm going to go with Oregon to win this one. That Colorado game showed a lot to me with them. Texas A&M 4-2 at number 19 Tennessee, 4-1. Tennessee's minus 3-point favorite. Texas A&M was at home last week, played Alabama very, very tough. Now they play Tennessee, who is not as good as they were last year, but they're playing at home. I think playing at home gives them the slight advantage, but that's a very close game to me. All right, number 25, Miami, 4-1 at number 12, North Carolina. North Carolina is 5-0, minus 2-point favorite, 2.5-point favorite. Miami had one of the worst losses I've ever seen. Idiotic loss when they easily had the game won. So I think North Carolina is going to capitalize on that. I think that kind of hurt Miami in the momentum of what they had this season. I like the Tar Heels. Mizzou 5-1 at number 24, Kentucky, who's also 5-1. Kentucky's a minus 2.5-point favorite. Kentucky looked very bad last week. Missouri should have probably beat LSU. This is a tough game because it's like, is Kentucky going to bounce back? Is Mizzou going to go out the momentum they have? of almost beating LSU. I like Kentucky in this one, but it's close. Number 18, UCLA, who's 4-1, at number 15, Oregon State, who's 5-1. Oregon State's a 3.5-point favorite. UCLA beat a very good Washington State team last week. Now they have to play a very good Oregon State team. Oregon State is playing a very... This is how fun the Pac-12 is this year. Who would have thought that there would be... The Pac-12 teams would be involved in 3 ranked games this week. At this point in the year in Week 7, no one would have thought that. I'm going to go Oregon State. I like Oregon State. I like what they can do. They can run the ball. DJU playing quarterback. Oregon State. All right, last game. Iowa 5-1 at Wisconsin 4-1. Wisconsin's minus 9.5-point favorite. This game is interesting for Wisconsin. Luke Fickell in year 1. You're playing an Iowa team who has no offense, but you know the defense is somewhat going to be there. So it'll be interesting to see what he does and how he adjusts to that. I think Wisconsin wins the game, but I think it's close. I think Iowa covers. But this will be a very interesting game as we continue to watch Luke Fickell progress and we continue to watch Iowa degress with the Ferentzes as head coach, offensive coordinator. Because at a certain point, Kirk Ferentz has done so much for Iowa, and it's tough as a program like Iowa to be like, we need to move on and start something new because you're so identified in what you have. But at the end of the day, it's tough, but offense is so much of a struggle. It's not even fun. It can't be fun to be an Iowa fan. So, all right, that's going to do it for this week's video. Look, quick recap of Week 7 as stuff is starting to unfold and the playoff is starting to get clearer of teams somewhat. Notre Dame has problems that I don't know if they can ever be fixed. And it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back this week. And then my picks for this week, hopefully we stay a little hot. Thanks for watching.